I want to go into specifically, you were talking about Jen Perlman, who I've had on this show, is running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And of course, the Democrats put on a big show while they're screwing somebody over and nobody talks about. They're screwing over a woman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, one of the most evil, corrupt people who was fired by the DNC. This is the thing that just drives me fucking insane, that they're still talking about Russia. And I'm like, these are facts. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was fired as the head of the DNC because of the Podesta emails and then hired by Hillary Clinton, right? Donna Brazile fired by CNN for cheating. And now she works for Fox News, and they just, but Trump's bad. And I'm like, okay, so why don't you give us a couple of the details about how they were cheating again in Florida? They cheated Tim Canova 4 years ago, or 2 years ago, I forget. They've cheated him so many times, I forget what years Tim Canova's been cheated. And tell us what they were doing.
So initially, they had several polling centers. Obviously, one of the polling centers we went in to go there. We had our credentials. We had the camera.
In Florida.
In Florida, yes. So this is South Florida. This is a congressional district that has Broward County. This is the district that Jen Perlman is running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz and was running against her. And this district majorly includes parts of slightly north of Miami and up to Broward County. Now, this district is heavily Jewish, and it's heavily what went for Debbie the last couple times, because she did rig it in her favor again against Tim Canova. The second time Tim Canova ran as an independent, and I do have to admit that it is very difficult to win as an independent in Florida. It's just the way the system is set up. But there was still a lot of things that happened as well. And so we get into this polling center, and we had our credentials set up. And then we were told that we couldn't go in because media wasn't allowed. And we were like wondering, why the hell aren't we allowed in? We've been allowed in every other polling center. And first of all, this polling center is like a gated community. So if this is your polling center, you have to like get in a car line, go through security, show your ID, be let in, and then you get to vote, which is already a problem in itself because you shouldn't have to go through that whole process just to vote. And so we tried to find another way in. So we did find a way in, and we get in, and we pull up to where all the volunteers are for the various candidates. And of course, Debbie Wasserman Schultz happens to be there, the area where no media was allowed, right? And we went in because we said, oh, we were just voters. So we had taken out all of our credentials and stuff. And she walks right up to the car and is like, surprises Pasta, because it's funny because there's all these things that you want to say to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, like, you're a vile person, you're the reason like Bernie Sanders lost and blah blah blah, and you want to say all these things to her. And then he was just like really cordial, and he was like, so what are you doing here? And she goes, well, I'm trying to win, I'm trying to get reelected. And she just seems like the lady that you would know she wouldn't hurt a fly. And she's over there with her people trying to get the young people to vote for her, because she had found out that Jen Perlman was gaining a lot of ground on her, a lot of traction on her. And so she was just there. And previously, I don't know if you heard, she had assaulted a 16-year-old volunteer for Jen Perlman. And so she was watching her back, and eventually she was escorted out in a black car. But moments later, there had been a couple of hours later, in this location called Dania Park, there had been ballots that ran out at the location. So this is the usual voter suppression typical thing that happens. They run out of ballots at a location, and it's getting late. The polls close at 7. People are still in line. And so we get a call from Jen Perlman's campaign people, and they're like, hey, you guys should go there. They've run out of ballots, and they're going to close the poll soon, and people are still in line. So we get there, and according to a statute that is part of the law in Florida, once the polls close, you as a member of the public, can observe the count of the votes. So of course, Pasta, myself, and Johnny go in there. And Pasta and Johnny go in, and they're told, okay, we're going to give you a tour, and then you are allowed to observe the counting of the ballots. So on top of being members of the public, we're also media. So they get told, okay, you're fine to be in there. Moments later, a guy gets a phone call and he's on the phone, and then he starts screaming, hey, no, they can't be in here. They can't be in here. So somebody got on the phone and said, get these people out of there. They're not allowed to observe it. And Pasta's pulling out the statute. He's like, no, this is the law. This is it. And they were like, we don't care about your statute. They physically shoved them out of the room. And the woman, there was three poll workers. One of them was a woman. She was saying, oh, they have the right to be here. This is the law. But the guy didn't care. And they were pushed out of the room. And we caught all of this on video. You guys can see it on my Twitter. And they didn't let us view the counting. And then we went to another location that was closed, that was supposed to be open for you to view the counting. And so we probably know, we've been following the elections all over California, all over Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And these are things that are supposed to be publicly transparent. I mean, we're supposed to be seeing these ballots get counted and transported. And the way that it was being done was shady. I mean, they started putting the machines back in a budget, moving rental car and moving it to another location. And so we were trying to like figure out what exactly is happening and how these ballots are being transported, because Tim Canova caught Debbie Wasserman Schultz transporting them illegally, like with not more than two people. There were supposed to be at least two people there. And they completely just didn't let us get in there. I mean, we were, Pasta was shouting, we care about elections. We want, democracy. And what's really unnerving, Graham, is that the Democratic Party, at the same time this is happening, is getting on a pulpit and talking about how Donald Trump and Russia are trying to steal our elections when they are the ones doing this. And so as we're getting results, Jen Perlman had a few people like Lori Jones that were watching the videotapes of the results. So as the results were coming in, there was a tape of how the results were laid out. And what she was seeing, and what others were seeing as well, was that the tabulation of the results showed that more people were voting in the judge race, the races for the judge, which were all the way at the bottom, 2 to 3 times more people than for Jen Perlman and Debbie Wasserman Schultz's race, which is the first one on the ballot, number one. And it's the largest, most media, like most of the media knows about their race. She's a big, she's a big honcho in that area. Somehow the judges' races were voted on 2 to 3 more times. I don't know about you, Graham, but sometimes even myself, I don't know all the judges that I'm supposed to vote for when I go.
More people were voting for judges than they were for Congress. There's no way.
Those are the results. And so by the time we were still at the polling location, the New York Times had already called it for Debbie Wasserman Schultz overwhelmingly, like she had 75% of the vote. And that was that. I mean, there you go. There goes another election. And at the very least, the way we were treated for doing something that was completely legal, just like watching and observing the counting of ballots, if you have nothing to hide, why is this such a big deal? And Debbie Wasserman Schultz keeping the media away when just because she was at this location, she normally runs away from the media. That's why it was so funny that we ran into her, because she's like Tom Perez. It's so hard to get a hold of her. And so it's the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party talking about Russia meddling in our elections, talking about Republicans and Donald Trump with the vote by mails, when we have found tubs of uncounted ballots in Wisconsin. I mean, this isn't a joke. And so how do you tell young people that you want them to vote for Joe Biden when they go and exercise their vote and they can't find their polling location, they run out of ballots, and then they can't even witness people like Lori Jones, who's 19 years old. They start seeing these inconsistencies and they're like, well, what's the point in participating in this sham if it's unfair? There's no justice here. This isn't a republic. It's not a democracy. This is nothing. We're a giant corporation, and they don't respect any elections integrity. And the Democrats do just as much cheating as the Republicans. So
yeah, I mean, and again, the vote any blue will do crowd refuses to hear that. They'll hear it and they'll go, yeah, but Trump's bad, and you'll go, okay, you're just like, so it's okay if my team cheats, but if the other team does, then it's bad. It's just like they're still right. Trying to blame Russia.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. But you know what? If they're this dumb, this is what part of me is like. I hope Biden wins, so that the economy is going to tank, and no matter what, and when people are protesting and federal cops are beating the shit out of people and snatching them up in unmarked vans, then it's like, what? You can't blame Trump anymore when it's Kamala and Biden. What are you going to do then? Like, I just want to go, what are you going to do? You're going to, because then maybe they'll wake up. I don't know what it's going to take, but like, I don't know. They're just as delusional than the crazy Trumpers, but in some ways it's worse because they're mainly college educated and they think they're so woke and they think they're so got their finger on the pulse of it. But the reason they can say vote any blue will do is, quite honestly, especially in Hollywood, some of them friends of mine, I listen to their tweets and I'm just like, because you know what? 3 million people getting deported didn't affect them. And the media didn't talk about it. When they did, they went to sleep. And the drone strikes in the Middle East and taking us from 2 wars to 7, 85,000 dead kids in Yemen didn't affect them. 6 million to 8 million foreclosures didn't affect them. Losing their healthcare doesn't affect them. It just doesn't. Like, when they lose their union healthcare from writing on TV shows and that stuff, maybe then they'll go, oh, like when they lose their nice white collar jobs, they'll go, oh, maybe, oh, gee, I don't know when they're gonna.
Right. It has to really hit him where it hurts.
Everybody, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification button and the subscribe button, even if you've done it before, because they're unsubscribing, many of you, every day. Watch the ads all the way through. If you click skip ad, I don't get paid. Also, support us at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. Rockfin.com is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. All my videos are on Rockfin ad-free. Thanks for watching.